try testing out this paper airplane tutorial. I don't have any kiddos, but I still think it looks pretty cool. So let's see if it'll work for a plain Jane like me. I'm usually very skeptical of these tutorials, so I'll be testing it out with 5 different types of paper. First, we have the 8.5 by 11. Then we have the 8.5 by 14. Then the 11 by 17. Then some thicker sketchbook paper, 9 by 12, and 9 by 12 construction paper. Just to make sure that this paper airplane will work in most scenarios, I'll be making 2 paper airplanes for the 8.5 by 11 and 8.5 by 14, because personally I don't want to have to be precise with every single paper airplane, so I'll make one that's really rushed and one that's more precise. And I'll be doing that for the longer paper because that appears to be what they use in the video, but most people have copy paper laying around. I will test them indoors like they're shown in the video, but I'll also do it outdoors just to see how well it reacts to wind. I think this paper airplane will still fly, but I really doubt that it's actually going to move the wings like a bird. There will be a tutorial at the end of the video if you'd like to test it out for yourself. The original Instagram reel is way too fast to actually follow along to, so I made my own. I have my pile of so-called birds, each labeled so I remember which ones are which. Let's go test them out. The 8.5 by 11 did not go very well. I had more attempts, but they went just as poorly. The 8.5 by 14 worked decently well, but the wings weren't moving like a bird. The 11 by 17 seemed to get a little more airtime. The sketchbook paper had pretty much the same result as the 8.5 by 11. The construction paper, as expected, did not work well. There was barely any wind, but the 8.5 by 11 still did not work very well. The 8.5 by 14 was a little more successful, but there was still no flapping of the wings. The 11 by 17 worked pretty well and got the closest to having its wings move like a bird. The sketchbook paper kept veering to the right, and the construction paper nosedived. Overall, I think the 8.5 by 14 and the 11 by 17 planes worked the best. They actually flew pretty well, and I even noticed with the 11 by 17, it did start a little bit to move the wings like a bird, but not very consistently. I think the most disappointing plane was the 8.5 by 11. I mean, it's the simple paper most people have, but it barely even worked as a plane. It would just nosedive immediately. The planes were also pretty durable. Having the flat edge is pretty good, so it doesn't, as it smacks into walls, doesn't flatten. I would still recommend giving these planes a try. They're pretty simple to make and very easy to memorize, so if you're looking for a simple new paper airplane to make instead of the basic one, I would still give this a try, but just not with copy paper. There wasn't much difference between the indoor and outdoor tests, but you will need a pretty wide area to throw these because they tend to do big sweeping loops as they fly down. After the planes didn't work very well or wasn't actually flapping the wings like they were supposed to, I tried to test out what fold exactly was trying to make that happen. So the tutorial has kind of these folded in corners that were kind of difficult to even make because the video barely shows the actual proper placement for them. So I made a version that's just flat across the top, and there was honestly barely any difference in how it flew because both of them did move the wings. So if you don't feel like making the tiny little folds, I would just exclude them. I will say though that this makes it look much more like a bird than this more just like a normal plane, but they're definitely both more bird-like than a normal paper airplane. Feel free to follow my tutorial and let me know in the comments if you got any better results than I did.